It's time for Waking Up with Wesley. Today's forecast and weather-wide discussion with WLOX First Alert Weather's senior meteorologist, Wesley Williams.
Waking Up with Wesley is sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.
Good morning, and thank you for waking up with Wesley. I'm senior meteorologist Wesley Williams. So we're gearing up for cruising the coast this week, but Mother Nature is trying to pump the brakes a little bit for Monday, as we do have some high rain chances in the area. So we'll talk about how this week is starting off on the wet side. Let's take a look at some of the potential for rain here over the next 3 days. Many of us picking up to 2 inches of rain, and there might be a few spots where you get maybe a little bit more than that. And look, many of you've been asking, you've been begging for rain over the last several dry weeks, and so here we are, we got it. I was so concerned about this. We had like basically a month worth of no rain at all, and I was like, is this going to continue for cruising the coast? It would be nice if it did. And all that dry weather, so many weeks of it, and now it's kind of gone as we've been dealing with some rain chances for the first couple of days of cruising the coast. And as you can see here, the trend is still showing rain is possible, not just for Monday, but also for Tuesday and Wednesday. You look at these maps and they are not completely dry tomorrow. They are also not completely dry on Wednesday. But notice how much more widespread the rain is on Monday compared to Tuesday and Wednesday, where there are fewer showers. But the few showers that are there, where are they? They're near Interstate 10 and south on Tuesday. They're also near Interstate 10 and south on Wednesday, which is where, Cruising the Coast headquarters is in Gulfport. So if you are in the Gulfport, Biloxi area or anywhere south of I-10, it looks like the first 3 days of this week are going to feature some wet weather from time to time. But I've got good news, because it's not going to stay this way the entire week. Once we hit the second half of the week, we're getting in the fast lane for fall conditions. Yeah, we're going to let sunshine take the wheel by the weekend, and it will feel much more like you expect for this time of year. Even though the first part of the week, you can see those red boxes there indicating high rain chances are possible at times on Monday, at times on Tuesday, at times on Wednesday, but then you got pretty much nothing but green heading into the second half of the week. And so that could help us out to see, a sort of better outlook for the remainder of cruising the coast. But for the first part, you are going to want to keep your rain jacket handy. You are going to want to keep your umbrella handy, as we'll have those generally higher rain chances. It's not going to rain every hour of the day. It's not going to rain in every town. But the chance is there that you're on Monday, more likely than not, to see at least some rain at some time during the day in South Mississippi. And then the chance comes down a little bit for some of us on Tuesday and Wednesday. Again, looking at the weekend, though, it looks nice, right? You got afternoons in the lower 80s, crisp, lower humidity, cooler mornings in the lower 60s. I think these are going to be some of the coolest morning temperatures many of us have seen so far this season. So I want to put the focus on that and give you a first alert that I told you last week. As we go into October, I bet the house on it that some of you will be using your car heaters. Some of you for the first time this season will turn on that car heater. Maybe some of you might consider turning on your home heater. We'll see. But the car heaters, they will crank on by this weekend in parts of South Mississippi. Step one to get that to happen is we're getting rid of the mugginess in the air. We get this cool front to come in around Thursday or Friday, and then that takes the humidity down. And less humid air is allowed to cool down more quickly in the overnight hours. It's also allowed to heat up a little bit more quickly during the daytime hours. And with this particular front, that will allow for morning temperatures overnight into morning temperatures looking like this. You see, this morning we had 70s. It was pretty mild. Normally in early October, you have mornings in the middle 60s. So this morning was around 5 to 10 degrees warmer than normal for this time of year. But we will finally get those morning temperatures to come closer to normal by the time we get to Saturday morning, Sunday morning. We're forecasting 63 in places near Gulfport, Biloxi. But if you're to the north of Interstate 10, it could get a little cooler. I mean, it looks like it could be downright chilly for places like Poplarville, Wiggins, Lucedale, finding upper 50s possibly by Sunday morning in the area. So that will be pretty much around sunrise, anytime between 5 in the morning and 8 in the morning. You could get these temperatures that you see on the map. And again, we'll make this a little bit bigger on the screen so you can see that these temperatures are not playing around. You know, it could be car heater territory if you're waking up in some of our inland counties, Pearl River, Stone, and George counties, and you got an early morning drive and the Sunday time frame. You know, not everyone is that cold natured though, and you might want the car heater. For me, I might just let the windows down in the car and kind of just soak it up. I love this kind of stuff this time of year. After the long summer, you can catch that nice little break. So that's just something to keep in mind when you see the 7-day forecast. I want you to keep in mind those numbers at the bottom of the screen there are primarily for the coast. So that's why it says 63 for Saturday morning, 63 for Sunday morning, even though you might find some cooler upper 50s for some of the inland areas. Now, we will have a very nice fall-like finish to Cruisin the Coast. But before we get there, like we said, we are starting the week on the wet side. So I want to talk about today, Monday. We do have some events for Cruisin the Coast in the area. And it looks like Mother Nature is going to be handing out some free car washes, likely happening today in South Mississippi. I said that earlier, and Brandy said, what about the tires? Is she going to do the tires too? And I said, yeah, that'll probably cost extra, like it usually does. So let's take a look at your WLOX weather app forecast. You can see that the rain chances are going to be pretty high for most of the day. They're never at 100%, right? But they are pretty high. So at any given hour, you might have one of these scattered showers or thunderstorms passing over your town. So you do want to keep your umbrella handy if you're going to be out for today's Cruisin the Coast events. Taking a look at the map here, this kind of gives you a general idea of the coverage. Notice by 9, 10, and 11 o'clock this morning, we're seeing a good amount of rain coverage in the area. There's a lot of green on the map indicating rain, where the model thinks there will be rain. And you can see many of our counties have that on them, so that green color on them. So again, you do want to have the rain jackets handy for Monday morning. You want to have them handy for Monday afternoon. You'll note though, if you look closely, let's make this bigger on your screen. You can see a little break. Look at that, little break near Bay St. Louis, Long Beach, Pass Christian, parts of Gulfport, parts of Biloxi. You know, crossing my fingers for autocross in D'Iberville. That will be beginning around that time frame. Hopefully that break in the rain might extend just a little bit more to the east, and we can get that break in the rain for D'Iberville as well. We can take a look at the map for this evening. I know we have the parade rolling in Long Beach around 5:30 p.m. And it does look like, check it out, a break in the rain in the Long Beach area around 4 p.m., around 5 p.m., around 6 p.m. As that rain chance decreases for most of the area, it is currently looking hopeful for the Long Beach parade. You know, understand that these rain chances, they are not 0% though. So even though the model is showing a decrease, it is still a possibility to see some rain in the area. Even if it's not in Long Beach, it might be a town or two away or a county or two away. So I do still want you to take a poncho with you for the Long Beach parade just to be ready in case we see those rain chances there. But the general idea is that the chances will be decreasing, even though they don't completely fall to 0%. They are going to be decreasing, so we're thinking maybe less rain around the Monday evening time frame. You got a decent little breeze there coming in off the Gulf around 10 miles per hour, and temperatures in the lower 80s. So you combine a not so hot temperature with a pretty cloudy sky and a Gulf breeze, it's going to feel like fall, a cool fall afternoon. If you were outside yesterday during the rain, if you were outside on Saturday during the clouds, it's going to be similar to that type of feel. It's not going to be an overly hot time frame this evening. Now, if we can get, you know, the rain chances are decreasing, maybe we can get a little break in the clouds. If we can get a break in the clouds this evening, prepare for a sky surprise, because Monday night will be the full harvest moon. It's what this year's September full moon is called, because it is the full moon that occurs closest to the autumnal equinox. Sometimes it's the August one, sometimes it's the September one. It really all depends on where the full moon happens, because the full moon day changes around and the autumnal equinox day changes around too. So Some years it's September, some years it's October. But this year, September's full moon is called the full harvest moon. You will watch that rise in the sky if you get a break in the clouds just after 6 p.m. That's tonight's moonrise. So if you're out at the Long Beach Parade and you're facing out into the Gulf, you're facing out toward the east or southeast, that's where you could find that bright glowing orb in the sky. It's the full moon, so it's going to be a little extra bright because it is the full moon, and I believe I've heard this one referred to as a super moon, so that might add a little bit more brightness to it. It's traditionally called the harvest moon because the full moon this time of year traditionally gives farmers a little bit of extra moonlight there, and it helps them to gather crops despite the diminishing daylight hours that naturally happens this time of year. In other parts of the world, this moon is also called the corn moon. It's called the barley moon. And again, you will see that if we get a break in the clouds on Monday evening. Now, before Monday evening, we're in Monday afternoon, and there's another event in D'Iberville, autocross. And I unfortunately do think that the chance of rain is going to be a little bit higher around the middle of the day. You can see that rain chance around 60% around noon, 1 and 2 p.m. Like we showed you on the map earlier, though, there might be some breaks in the rain. So crossing my fingers for autocross that we can get some breaks in the rain. Temperatures lower 80s. And there's a good amount of breeze there from the southeast at about 10, maybe 11 miles per hour. So again, you've got plenty of clouds, maybe a few breaks, lower 80s for temperatures, a good decent breeze. It will not be overly hot for this event as well. So again, if you were outside over the weekend, it was not overly hot because of all the clouds and eventually all the rain, and that same trend will likely continue today. Now, we'll see as we go to tomorrow, and definitely as we go to Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to see fewer clouds overall, and that could allow for some of the temperatures to heat up, especially as we will be right ahead of a front. The front does not get here until Thursday or Friday. And so the temperatures usually spike right before a cool front arrives, and that's what I'm thinking around either Wednesday afternoon or Thursday afternoon. We will see those numbers in the upper 80s. Some spots inland might come close to 90. And, you know, if we showed you the temperatures on the coast as well as inland, you'll see some of those numbers very close to 90. Like Wednesday afternoon, you can see it almost 90 degrees in places inland to the north of Interstate 10 generally, like Wiggins and Lucedale and Perkinston and Poplarville and Picayune and the Kill and Saussure and Diamond Head and Van Cleve. All of those places generally away from the coastal waters could be on the hot side. So Wednesday looks like one of our hottest afternoons of the week. And then the front begins to move into the area on Thursday. The temperatures will cool off. The afternoon temperatures don't find a major cool off, but those will get down to the lower 80s. But it's really the morning temperatures that will become much cooler. And like we showed you earlier in the video, getting those lower 60s just in time for the grand finale of Cruising the Coast 2025. It will feel like fall as sunshine and dry weather takes the wheel. Well, that'll do it for today's edition of Waking Up with Wesley. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. We'll see you again next time. Till then, take care and enjoy Cruising the Coast.
Waking Up with Wesley has been sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.